The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back. We have another Belly Up After Dark. We're so happy to have everybody who's able to join with us and get this show on the road. As always, here on Belly Up After Dark, I've got my main guy, my co-host, Jared Clem, in with me from the Korner Booth podcast. Jared, how are we doing tonight?
I am doing great, Josh. The Eagles finally have a defensive coordinator who's not ass. We signed a former Dodger and Giant in Arizona. It's all good. It's all good in Jared land right now. I'm feeling good right now.
All righty. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. I guess you can say you think they have a good coordinator, and you don't really know until it really comes down to it. But
Angel's got it right. We're good.
You know, I'm always there with you on your Eagles. They've kind of stolen my heart in the last few years, I think. So, you know, especially with Jalen Hurts, my guy over there. But then we've also got the man who showed up on the last Belly Up After Dark, decided to make another appearance. We've got Hector Flores from the Insert Name FC podcast. How you doing, Hector?
Good. CJ Stroud still exists, so I'm glad every day that's a thing. Astros just jumped up as heavy favorites in the American League with Josh Hader now in that back end of the bullpen, so pretty cocky about that too. It's not like I won't be bragging about that for a while. And also soccer season's going on, so I'm always happy.
Heck yeah. Well, and then we've also got, for the first time here and kind of new to the Belly Up network as a whole, we've got EJ from the Haymaker Combat Sports. EJ, how you doing, man?
Man, I can't complain. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm excited to join you fellas to talk a little football, talk a little fights, and let's get it going.
Yeah, we were talking last time. We were going to talk about UFC. I'm a big UFC guy. These two were like, I had to look up and kind of catch myself up on it and stuff. And I was like, man, well, next time we're going to get to it. So I'm going to make sure to invite EJ on since you're new to the network, but you're a fight guy. So, you know, we definitely got to have the fight guy come on and talk about the fight nights. So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting. And what a better weekend than this past weekend with UFC 297. We're gonna dive into that later, but man, guys, let's first start off with the NFL. Before we get too far into the NFL, first want to let everybody know that there will be a giveaway tonight, and so there will be a giveaway on this show, and that's going to be something I think we're going to make regular on Belly Up After Dark. And so make sure to tune in and stay tuned in because there's going to be a password given in order to join this giveaway. To join the giveaway, you're going to have to go to bellyupsports.com/afterdark. So that's just bellyupsports.com/afterdark. You're going to go there, and there's going to be a password, and you can only be joined if your submission actually has the correct password. So we're going to throw that password out here in the middle somewhere, wherever I feel like it's convenient for me to throw it out. I want to make sure we get our viewership in too, so I don't want to throw it out there whenever we've only got a couple of people watching. I want to make sure everybody's actually had time to join in. So make sure to stay tuned throughout the episode tonight because we are going to have that password for the giveaway, and you can also see and select from the prizes you want for the giveaway too. So, but let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. We've got the NFL. We've got Championship Sunday coming up. It's an exciting time for me personally. I think Championship Sunday might be the most exciting time in the NFL in the entirety of the season. I think if I was a fan of a specific team, I might not think that. But I think overall as an NFL fan, just as a whole, this is an exciting time, especially looking into it and seeing the teams that are in it. But before we get into Championship Sunday, I wanted to bring something up to you guys and get your guys' thoughts on it because this is something we talked about it on our show that released earlier this morning. But it's a rule change that's going to be proposed and be thought about. We've got a rule change with the fumble through the end zone. So what we saw with the Chiefs, who was it? Was it Mecole Hardman who fumbled it?
It was Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, and so he ends up fumbling it. It goes through the end zone, goes out of the end zone. That by default gives a touchback to the opposing team, to the defense. Personally, I love this rule. I'm on the side that I say if the defense forces you to fumble and it goes out of bounds, defense's ball right there. That's where I stand on it. So personally, I love the fact that this goes over to the defense. I'm a defensive guy. I like defense. I always liked playing defense more than offense. I guess just because I probably touched the ball more on defense than I did on offense. And it's not because I was a bad offensive player. But, you know, I personally like this, and I root for the defense in this rule. But how do you guys stand? And if you want this rule to be changed, where do you go with it? How do you change it up? I'll start off with you, Jared.
I don't think you change this. I think the biggest problem is like if you are as an offensive player, I was an offensive tackle, and I also played a little bit on defense as well. And the biggest thing when I was playing and then coaching afterward, and as a person who's covered football for almost a decade now, the one thing I've obviously understood is like when you're crossing the goal line with the football, sometimes that shit can get knocked out. If you fumble the ball before the goal line, before it's crossed the plane, and it goes out of bounds, yeah, no, that's on you. That there is no excuse for letting go of the football. And I think it was perfect for one, the game drama, two, for the whole because the Chiefs, if you guys don't remember, were about to punch it in and be up by I think 10 or 13 when they punched that in. My favorite part about it is it brought the game back. If you are not going to hold on to the football, crossing the goal line, the most pivotal part of the sport, I'm okay with it happening. I think it's a just rule. I've been okay with it since the start.
I think it just makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense.
And you know what? If you don't want to lose the ball, then don't drop it on the ground.
Yeah.
What we used to always yell at my high school was whenever I played football was PBS, and it wasn't the network. It was perfect ball security. And if you fumbled it, there was times when the coach would make you carry a football with you throughout the entirety of practice, and you weren't allowed to drop it. And then if you dropped it another time within a short span, I don't remember what his rule was, but if you dropped it again, you're going to be doing sprints with the ball in your hand after practice, along with holding the ball through practice. So don't fumble the ball. That's rule number one. Don't turn the ball over on offense. But Hector, how do you feel about this rule? Do you think it should be changed, or do you like the idea of it being changed?
No, I think it should stay like this. I don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think there's nothing broken about this rule. This is like one of the few times the rule does favor, the defense. Whereas if it was to go on the sideline, it goes to it doesn't count as a fumble. So I think there's things that's got to favor one side specifically, and I think if it ends up like that. To me, it has to at least favor the defense for the fact that it is going into the end zone. So I'm perfectly fine with this rule.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, favor the defense somewhere. You don't favor them in ruling and stuff. But EJ, where do you stand, man?
At this point, you got to just keep the rules like the way they were. But I always thought it was a weird rule, to be honest with you, because when you think of a touchback, you think of them catching it off on kickoff and you downing it and you get it on the 25-yard line. I know they changed it, but it just seemed like a weird rule. So I did all of this work and you got lucky and punched the ball out and now you get the ball back. I get it, but it always just seemed like a weird rule to me. But
yeah, it sucks. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but again, I go back to the point that don't drop the ball. I just
punished for the fact that you fucked up. That's the basic part of it.
Well, yeah, and I feel like so when there's a fumble on the field, whose possession is that ball in currently? It's neutral. And so if it's neutral and it goes out through the back of the end zone, if it goes out through the back of your own end zone, guess what? You give it to the defense and they get 2 points off of it too. And so on the other side of it, if you fumble through their end zone, they don't get 2 points, but they get the ball. I just don't understand what the alternative would be. Who do you give it to and where do you give it to them? Because I feel like then you run into a conundrum of questions of, okay, well, what about in this scenario? So if you're 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line, you run it all the way up and you're 3 yards out and you fumble it out through the back of the end zone. Let's say you make the rule that they get the ball back. I made the argument. Maybe you make the rule that they get the ball back 1st and goal from the 20. So they get a disadvantage now, maybe 15 or 20. So they get a disadvantage because they have 4 downs to make it 20 or 15 yards. But what happens if it's 3rd and goal and you fumble through the end zone? Now where do you get the ball, and do you reset downs now? Do you get favored because you fumbled the ball through? I just don't know what you change the rule to. So I need to hear the alternative. But I'm probably going to dislike it because you're probably going to favor the offense like every other rule.
You had a good idea though. You should get the ball back, maybe on the 25-yard line, but it's like a loss of down. You don't get like an extra down. You just get whatever down you lost it on.
Yeah, maybe.
And
So
then,
if it's fourth down, it comes out to the 25-yard line and goes to the defense then?
I thought you were saying the offense kept the ball if they fumbled out of the end zone. So you're saying it goes to the
well, I mean, if it's fourth down and you fumble it through the end zone.
Down, it's turnover downs. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I can at least understand and probably agree to that logic. Again, I'm a defensive guy. I like the defense. I like to see a defensive game. I want to see the defense be stronger and smash mouth. And if the defense is that good, then the offense is going to be tough too. And so you get a really fun game whenever you do score. It's kind of like that Chiefs-Bills game. You had a couple of defenses that were standing up really tall against two really good offenses.
Yeah, and with that as well. So you're saying like that's good for the defense, but if you're the defense, you're getting your ass kicked this whole time, and then you just happen to get lucky and punch the ball out. I think it'd be fair for the offense to get a chance to at least kick a field goal if they got put back on the 25-yard line because they did all that work. But that's just me.
Maybe if it goes through, you just like give 2 points to the offense, and then it's a turnover. Then it's like you go and kick. So it's like so you've got a 3-point chance by kicking a field goal. You've got a 2-point chance by fumbling it through the end zone, and then you got a 6-point chance by scoring a touchdown. I don't know. I don't know what their alternative is going to be.
Yeah, I just say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep it.
Yeah, that's the way I am. And personally, like I said too, and I think like Hector said, I like this rule the way it is. I like to favor the defense somewhere because you don't really favor them anywhere else during the game. But going over to the comment section, we got Kelce joining in. He says, "Don't change it. If you can't hold on to the ball, you don't deserve the possession." I'm right there with you, Kelce. And then Kev comes in and he says, the NFL wants to hamstring the defense as much as possible. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, defensive pass interference, that happens way more often and way easier to call than offensive pass interference. And so, I think there's all kinds of stuff like that. Or targeting. Why is there only a targeting on defense? Why is there no targeting on offense? That's another thing.
And how come that they only did when you could challenge pass interference? They only did it for like one season and got rid of it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that this past season. I was like, wait a minute, I thought that was a thing. But yeah, it is kind of weird. But then DJ comes in here. He says instead of a safety, let's go full bad shit crazy, and the offense gets to keep the ball, but the defense gets 4 points. Okay, now DJ's like switching it all up. So now you're kind of favoring the defense and keeping it fair for the offense. I see how you're going there. But no, I just don't understand where you draw the line, where you go to. But let's go ahead and get into Championship Sunday, unless you guys had anything else to say on that.
I think we're going to see that DJ Stewart rule on the USFL or UFL, whatever the hell it's called at this point.
Yeah, go test it out in the USFL and see how everybody likes it there, and then bring it. I guess XFL, USFL, the UFL now. Go test it out there and then bring it in. But let's go ahead and start off. I'm going to start off with the AFC Championship game. We've got the Chiefs versus the Ravens. We've got the team that, Jared and I were just talking about this over on the corner booth. The team that everyone wants to see lose. Everyone except for me, apparently, wants to see lose. And then you've got pretty much everyone rooting for the Ravens. The Ravens are the man that can keep America sane for not having to watch the Chiefs in another Super Bowl. Jared, I know you and I were just now talking about this, so I'm going to save you for last. I'm going to start off with you, EJ. I mean, who are you feeling in this Chiefs-Ravens game? How do you see this game going?
I'm a little torn on this. I'm a Cowboys fan, but I live in the middle of Missouri, so I'm surrounded by Chiefs fans. So I have a little soft spot for the Chiefs in my heart. I'm a big fan of Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the most talented and the best QB in the league. But I also like Lamar Jackson. I like them in his Louisville days. I don't know. I'm torn on this game. You can't count a champion down. Like when it comes to the Chiefs, they're the defending champions. But that Ravens defense is something serious. And you complement it with a Lamar Jackson who's been playing out of his mind this season. I just think the Chiefs don't have enough for them, and I think the Ravens are going to win comfortably this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm over in right on the border of Iowa and Nebraska. I've got family that's the Chiefs fans, and then I've known quite a few Ravens fans. I'm right there with you. I like Lamar. If Mark Andrews plays, he's an Oklahoma Sooner. That's my team. That's my guy right there, Andrews. So yeah, I'm a little torn that way too. Just got players that I like on both sides. That's where I am. I'm not really an NFL team fan, but I'm just an NFL fan. I follow players, and it's hard whenever you like players on both sides. But Hector, how you feeling in this AFC Championship game? Who are you picking?
I could be petty. Obviously, because I had to watch my team get just. I mean, let's be honest. Ravens are just. They were clearly the better team. That's the reason why they won. I don't even want to remember the score because, frankly, I don't want to remember that score. I remember the punt return, but
hey, I love the punt return. I love the
punt return. If anything, they won because of that. No, man, the Ravens have always been the team of destiny. What it seems like this year. Get your tinfoil hats out because obviously the whole NFL, the Super Bowl logo colored people. If you're listening to this, the Ravens probably should be going in based off of that theory. But I mean, to quote the great Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and the Chiefs are the man to the Ravens, and so it's not necessarily going to be an easy test. I think Baltimore is clearly the better team in every aspect of it. And I mean, you could definitely say Lamar Jackson MVP favorite this season, and you would expect a good performance from them. You got a good coach. So I mean, everything points to Baltimore. Kansas City has been weird this season. They still look like Kansas City at moments that we all expect them to be, but at the same time, it's not the same Kansas City Chiefs that I remember. But then we say this every year, and then Kansas City does it. So it's a weird thing. But I'm gonna go with the Texas boy, Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, I got to root for that guy. Got to be with the Swifties because I don't want to be against that army. So
they're more dangerous than the Illuminati.
They are.
Nah, the Beehive's worse.
Just look at Cat Williams. He's walking around scot free. But I'm just saying I think the Chiefs keeps defying the odds, and I think if there's anyone that could beat the Ravens, it's definitely the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Jared, go ahead and talk your ish.
All right, listen. Watch your fucking mouth, skinny boy. Shit. All right. That being said, listen, there's been a trend going on TikTok. It is amazing. It is Lamar, please save us. That is the trend, right? And I am a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. If you couldn't tell by the giant Rodney McLeod Super Bowl jersey behind me and the Eagles parking sticker and everything else. But Lamar, this is like his time. This is what he promised the Ravens a Super Bowl when he got drafted, right? And the best part about this is that this is the best receiving core he's ever had. This is he keeps losing running backs, but yet he keeps winning. This is probably the best defense. Also, by the way, next week and this week they get I believe Bateman's back, Andrews is back. Oh, and they get Marlon Humphrey back on defense. The Chiefs had to rely on Tyler Bass shanking the hell out of a field goal, and the Dolphins turning into frozen tuna fish in that -45 whatever fucking game it was. So that being said, the Ravens to me not only have the backing of the fact that I think this is Lamar's time. Lamar may only win one title his entire career. I think this is it. And my biggest factor to that is you look at everything this team has encompassed, whether it's losing multiple running backs, having to do with injuries all year, losing weird games, right? And yet they're still here and they're still resilient. And all the headlines about every team in the NFL, there's no headlines about the Ravens. You have headlines about Detroit. Oh, it's, we're so happy to be here. It's our first time here. The Niners. Oh, it's revenge for last year what Philadelphia did to us. We're the team of destiny. The Chiefs. It's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and all that shit, right? The Ravens was kind of there. And that's what, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm fucking terrified of that. Because there's no distractions. They're just here to kick your ass and take your lunch money and walk away. And Lamar is staying on his business. Like, this man has been sitting here. He believed in what he was, got his contract, and he's about to deliver in his year after he signed his giant contract, which I don't know if you've paid attention in the NFL, that generally does not happen. So, all this being said, I think if anything, you put a gun on my head right now, a straight 9mm to my chrome dome. I'm telling you right now, I would say Lamar wins the Super Bowl because everything I just said is a legitimate reason. Because I don't care who comes out of the NFC. Detroit, I think, has a better shot of being Lamar than the Niners do. I think the Niners are relying on the fact they bully less physical teams.
Yeah.
The original bullies of physicality are the Baltimore Ravens. So if they can get past the Swifties and these away team leaning referees allegedly that are being set up for the game, sky's the limit, babe. Go get it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. And I looking at this matchup, I feel like the Ravens are the better team. And I know I said this on your show just a minute ago too. Is like, if I'm looking at this and if I'm being honest with this, it makes no sense to pick the Chiefs, other than the fact that we know what the Chiefs do. We know who the Chiefs are, and like Hector said, that they are doubted every year. And like, this isn't the same Chiefs team. I just don't think they can do it. And then they do it again. And I have a really hard time betting against the Niners or the Chiefs. Let's see, who was it? Yeah, the Niners and the Ravens. Sorry. So with the Niners and the Ravens, just because of the whole conspiracy and everything out there. So I just look at this game, and again, I don't ever bet against the Chiefs, and especially in this scenario, in this atmosphere, they know what to do. That they know what game this is. They know that they have to win this one to go to the Super Bowl. Just look at the attitude between John Harbaugh dancing in the locker room, which I'm not dissing whatsoever. I think that's a great thing to do. I think it's great to celebrate your victories. But look at the difference between that and Andy Reid saying, "We're not done yet." That's a huge difference, and that's in just the overall mentality of these two teams. So I'm picking the Chiefs just because I don't bet against the Chiefs. I don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't bet against Travis Kelce. I love Isaiah Pacheco. And this defense is the best Chiefs defense I think probably any of us have seen in our lifetime. So, I mean, I have to pick the Chiefs just because I can't bet against them.
The only thing I will say is that the Chiefs were at their best when they were the team the Ravens were. Loose, goofy, jumping. I think when you're a team that's supposed to be goofy tenses up, a la last year's Eagles, the Niners back there in the Harbaugh era, you go back to the 16 Falcons where like they were like goofy, loud, like they were fun. I think when a team tries to act what they're not, in this case the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs have to understand they're the fun, goofy team in this instance. There's no, you're the standing on business, the serious team. That's not your MO. Be who you are. In the NFL, that is the most, I think, headlined thing that we ignore is when a team stays true to their culture, they generally win. I mean, listen, my man EJ's Cowboys, listen, they're at a certain point, when they play like they actually are America's team, I mean, listen, the last time that happened, I was 6 months old. But that being said, they handle business. When the Philadelphia Eagles act like a bunch of wild, crazy dudes who celebrate, act like jackasses, taunt, and get nuts, they win football games. The Ravens, when they play physical football, they win games by the skin of their teeth, or they just out-throw you for some fucking reason. Nobody makes sense of it. That's Ravens football. And the Steelers have a questionable morals quarterback. That's how they win football games. Texans have listen, Texans are kind of in their own little things, which I apologize. So, on this rant, but I get back to what I'm saying. What bothers me is the Chiefs are acting like this is all business, like they're victimized or they're wronged here. It's like no. You dipshits are the defending champ. Like y'all got an easy Super Bowl.
Jared, you need to get your boy under control.
Christ,
your boy Chris says, "Hey fellas, turns out I had bad internet tonight, so and I probably shouldn't say that. Certain things are out the window. So how we doing, boys?
Good old corn.
Yeah, he's got corn cooking in the oven, but it won't get done
tonight. This is what I deal with on a daily basis, by the way.
No, I love it.
Co-host Flip Off, aka Melvin Dew.
And going backwards a little bit too, Kelce, he brings up a good point. He says, "Can the giveaway be making Jared wear a Cowboys jersey? That'd be worth more than anything."
I will literally shave every ounce of body hair on me before I put a Cowboys jersey on.
I don't want to see that. I think that's a grosser image than Jared doing an entire show butt naked. Let's not put the Cowboys jersey on him. I think that's probably too far. So
I kind of want to see that actually. Let's see it.
Put that Cowboys
I'm
jersey
all
on
for
an
the
Eagles
naked
fan.
one.
I was talking earlier. I was talking earlier on the corner booth how I wanted to root for the Chiefs just to see everybody else cringe in pain. Everybody else hates the Chiefs and they're going to cry so bad, and I wanted to see it. I don't want to see anybody hurt as bad as an Eagles fan having to put on a Cowboys jersey. So I'm not going to go that far. I'm not that cruel. But
so you think the Chiefs get as much hate as the Patriots in their dynasty?
They're getting pretty close.
I mean, to quote Harvey Dent, man, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain, and that's where the Kansas City Chiefs are now.
Yeah. The
Really?
Chiefs,
I like all these quotes that Hector's throwing out tonight, too.
2019, 2020, amazing reference, by the way, H. 2020, 2019, they were the hero. They knocked the Brady dynasty out. They were the heroes. They blew them out of the water. They almost got them in 2018. They just missed.
Now Ryan McCarthy says that edition of Belly Up After Dark will be on exclusively on OnlyFans.
Hey man, we gotta do what we gotta do, man.
Hey, it's after dark. We didn't say we weren't gonna go a little dark. All right, so we've got to keep that in mind. But guys, let's jump over to the NFC game. But before we do get to that, I want to first take a little break in the episode and mention our sponsor for tonight. And that is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing way to find all of your tickets. If you're a fan of live events, whether it's sports or music or theater or any kind of live events, you know how challenging it can be to find the right tickets at the right place and at the right price. That's where SeatGeek comes into play, because with a seamless mobile experience, SeatGeek allows you to buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. It doesn't get any simpler than that, guys. But it gets even better than that, because SeatGeek grades every ticket from red to green based on value. So if you're seeing a red one, you know that that's not such a great deal and you can find a better deal. Yellow means keep on searching. You'll find a green dot where it's the best deal. So they make it very easy with the color coding system and make it very easy to find where you're sitting and where you want to sit. So you can absolutely check it out. It's very easy to find your tickets there, and they help you find the tickets that are going to fit your budget. Plus, every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop securely with a complete peace of mind, knowing that the tickets that you buy are real tickets, and you're going to be able to scan them at the door, get into your event, and go and watch your sport or your band play in the concert, or a comedy show, or some theater play that you're watching. Whatever the case may be, SeatGeek has got your back. Now, we love SeatGeek here at Belly Up so much that we've partnered up with them to get you guys an amazing deal, because you can go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app, and you can use code BellyUpSports for $20 off. That's right, you heard that, and that's an amazing deal you do not want to miss out on. So for your next event, make sure to go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app and try the easiest way to find tickets and get yourself $20 off with the code BellyUpSports. That's BellyUpSports. Use that code for $20 off. But guys, let's get back into it. And like I said, I want to get over to the NFC Championship game. But Jared, did you have something first?
I will say with SeatGeek, the last time I used their site, I was able to get a ticket to a comedy, a sports event, and a Greek tragedy all in one shot, aka Miami versus Boston College. So there we go.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. But let's go over to the NFC side. We've got the Lions, the Niners. This one I think is easier for me to pick, but hard for me to pick because I'm rooting for one team more than the other. I think this one's going to be a really fun game to watch. Both these games are going to be really fun. Hector, let's start off with you, man. Who do you got in this NFC Championship game on Sunday?
Oh man, dude, this is going to be tough. Every bit of me tells me it's going to be the Niners. I think physically, they're capable of it. They've been kind of short as well. Sometimes I forget that there's a number 1 seed. by some of the games that they've played. There was that period where Brock Purdy looked terrible. Everyone was worried that Brock Purdy wasn't the guy. And then there's games where Brock Purdy plays well, and everyone's like, maybe Brock Purdy is the guy. I know he was also thrown out for MVP discussions, but let's be honest, it's Christian McCaffrey. But I do think that San Francisco's a really good team. And, I mean, Mike Shanahan, we know what he could do, but we also know he also flops in big games. And now on the flip side is the guy that I'm really rooting for, and that's Dan Campbell, a.k.a. Dan Talaga, a.k.a. Dan Terra, a.k.a. any metal rendition of Dan you could think of. The Detroit Lions have just been the story this season. I don't care who you are, or you've been secretly been pulling for the Detroit Lions because it's been so much fun. This guy's press conference started off with him saying that this team is going to fight. Even if they're going down, they're going to bite somebody's kneecap. Like that just if you don't want to play for that guy, I don't know who you want to play for, man. So I'm pulling for the Lions, but unfortunately, I do think San Francisco 49ers do find a way to start looking like the Niners that we were expecting them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. It's hard to bet against the Niners right now. I mean, they just seem like the better team. But EJ, are you going with the Niners? Or do you think the Lions are going to pull off the upset and go to the Super Bowl?
I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I think the Lions will pull up the upset this weekend somehow, some way. I just can't root for the Niners. I can't stand the Niners. As far as non-divisional rivals go, the Niners are up there. I interchange them and the Packers as far as my Cowboys go. I hate both of those teams. But yeah, out of the two teams, I think the Lions actually have the better quarterback overall, Jared Goff. And what a story that would be, him getting kicked out of LA like that and going to Detroit and casted off to Detroit and coming back to make it to the Super Bowl. How big of a story would that be? But the Niners have the better team overall. They got the better skills players, and they'd have been the more consistent team throughout the season, besides that weird 3-game stretch they had when they had a bunch of injured players and Purdy was looking like trash. But since then, they've been rolling. But, yeah, I just think the Lions will do something to pull it out. Like I said, it's going to come down to one big drive, and I think Jared Goff has to get it done. So I'm going to pick my heart on this one, even though I think the Niners are the better team.
Yeah. I mean, the Lions have been playing really well all season long, and I think whenever you look at the difference between the two teams on this game compared to the AFC Championship game, I think the AFC Championship game has much more of a talent gap when you look at both sides, whereas this one doesn't have that much of a talent gap, I don't think, overall. Especially whenever you take guys like Deebo Samuel out of the equation. But Jared, where are you standing on this Niners Lions NFC Championship game?
All right, listen. So, as much as I want to just go into the fact that as an Eagles fan, I despise, hate, and are annoyed by the existence of the San Francisco 49ers, right? As a Cowboys fan, EJ, I know you can agree with that.
Definitely.
Here's the thing, though. 3 years ago, we had to hear about how the Dan Campbell hire was a mistake, and there was no reason for it. They were a terrible team, and the Lions were just same old Lions, right? I have been a secret Lions supporter for the past 2 seasons. They have been my proxy team. When my Eagles are on, I'm a Detroit Lions supporter because everything about their story makes me want to pull for them. They are the lovable loser, the underdog who you actually want to root for. Where Cleveland, the second they got success, kicked the guy who got them that to the curb, shout out Baker. I'm happy for you, brother. Fuck Cleveland. Second of all, with the Lions, everything about their roster just makes me love them even more. You have a guy in Jameson Williams who, was like tossed aside for what PEDs, gambling. Who the fuck cares? Amon-Ra St. Brown was drafted, I think, the 11th of the receivers in his class. I believe he's second in that class in receiving yards so far in his career. Jared Goff was jettisoned by an LA team. Listen, they won their Super Bowl. They're never going to win another one again, at least in the next foreseeable future. Then you have guys like Jameson. You have David Montgomery, who was cast aside by his team. Then you have guys like Sam Laporte, who were like, the 4th, 5th quarterback tight end drafted. Penei Sewell wasn't even the first tight end tackle drafted in his own class. Hutchinson was drafted behind Trayvon Walker. They're a team of underdogs, right? And so, listen, man, we're gonna bite your kneecaps. We're gonna on the way up. We're gonna take a chunk out. You can knock us down. We're gonna get up again. Listen, as much as I could do Dan Campbell impressions all day, the Lions are the story the NFL really needs. As much as Taylor Swift and all this other bullshit with the Chiefs is fun, and as much as Lamar would be cool to win, the best thing for the NFL is to have the Detroit Lions knock off the overconfident, the overcompensating, the underperforming, and the fact that Brock Purdy sucks as an actual quarterback when he has no weapons, 49ers. I am so here for this. Go Detroit. I am a Lions fan until Sunday, until probably the end of the season. I'm here for it. Like I'm like rooting for these lovable.
So you said you're a Lions fan until Sunday. That means that you think they're going to lose on Sunday then?
No, because I think they're going to get smoked by Lamar in the Super Bowl, but that's a whole other story. I said it on my show before with Josh when you were on there. I said I think week 6, the Ravens were my Super Bowl champion, and I'm sticking to it. I said there was no team. Didn't matter who the hell Lamar was handing the ball off to. This team was just a team of destiny to me.
Yeah.
That being said, I would love it more if the Lions won. I'm just a realist. But also, nobody wants a Kansas City San Francisco Super Bowl. I might as well just not even watch it because I hate both fucking teams. So.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you because my brother's a Lions fan. He's been a Lions fan since they drafted Ndamukong Suh because he's a Nebraska fan. And so, it always pained me to listen to all the he wants to act like the Lions are so good, but they never were until Dan Campbell came around. The story that he has, and then Ryan McCarthy actually brings up in the chat, he says, Jared Goff was set adrift by Sean McVay to go to the elephant's graveyard of QBs. I'm happy for his success. Yeah, I'm right there with that same notion too, because seeing what Jared Goff has done there, and then what Dan Campbell has instilled into this entire franchise with the entire team, it's really hard to cheer against the Lions. I'm rooting for the Lions, but I look over at the other side of the ball, and I know that the 49ers just had a bad game against the Packers. I get that. But that was a game where even the hardest time to win, the hardest position to win in is when you're playing bad. The hardest time to win a game is when you're not playing good, and they found a way to do it. They found a way to do it against a team that was playing lights out, against a team that was trying their absolute hardest. And I think they may have overlooked their opponent. They had a little bit of rust, and so I look at this Niners team. I just think they're too good. If I have to put money on it, I think the Niners win. I'm going to be cheering for the Lions. I hope the Lions win. I really like the story there. Plus, like I mentioned on our show, it's not so much about Taylor Swift against Eminem for me. It's Taylor Swift against Taylor Lautner, her ex-boyfriend. So I think that's even more fun to look at and see the matchup there. So let's go for it. But yeah, I'm looking at this game. I think this one's going to be a really fun one. I think it's going to come down to the wire because it's two teams that really it's two teams that fight against each other's strengths in both sides of the ball. So I think that's really fun to look at and to see what we've got coming down in the NFC Championship game.
So with that, with the Chiefs and Ravens game, over under 5 Taylor Swift shots.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's the AFC Championship game. She's gonna be cheering
over.
a lot.
Over.
Yeah, you got to go over with that one, right? I like the over. I think she gets on at least 6 or 7 times. Are we counting even after the game, like post game?
Yeah, and post game.
All right, yeah, post game. Then we're definitely taking the over on that. So,
I gotta say something, man. I knew a lot of people were bashing Brittany Mahomes, and at first I was like, one, I don't really follow, because I'm so focused on soccer that I don't really follow what's going on with football. But I'm like, dude, what is Brittany Mahomes doing? And then I saw like the QB1 Netflix series, and I was just like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
I definitely get it now.
Get it now.
I definitely get it now. And then I think her and Patrick Mahomes did like can you guess your significant other good or something like that? And it was like, what's his favorite food? And she said fried chicken in a very bizarre accent, and the answer was Mexican food. And so, yeah, like more and more, I'm like, oh my god, this.
I don't even know Patrick Mahomes,
pretty...
and you would think you would choose like mac and cheese or something like
mac and cheese with ketchup, like
yeah,
shit,
ketchup.
Like,
yeah, mac and cheese and ketchup. I mean,
He's from
man.
Texas.
Yeah, I don't
She
know.
said
You're
fried
close to the
chicken.
border. You're close to the border. You're gonna pick Mexican food.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about him being from Texas. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just
It was the accent for me. Like, not only the fact that she guessed fried chicken, but the accent made it so much worse. I was team keep her away from Taylor Swift. Unfortunately, they're befriended.
Did she not read the room before giving that answer?
Yeah.
She said fried chicken. Jeez.
She didn't look around and be like, maybe I shouldn't say this.
Girl who hit the high school sweetheart lottery to like read the room. Come on, man.
True. Fair enough.
My girl picked she picked the golden ticket wrapped in like fucking platinum, dipped in pure I don't know what's the most valuable metal on the earth. Like,
you know what's crazy was that she had two options here because she could either be a baseball star or a football star. So
True.
She's like, I won.
But if he was a baseball star, she would not be hanging out with Taylor Swift in the suite. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
no, he'd probably be in the minors still.
True, exactly.
His pops wasn't that good of his pops was an okay pitcher at best. So
yeah, he was all right.
Also,
another thing, we need to leave Eminem alone. I mean, we need to stop, like, let that man rest. You know, the dude, like, y'all young rappers, man. I don't know what y'all doing, but just stop saying the man's name unless you're trying to get clout. I think that's the only reason why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Leave the man alone. Like, there's certain things that you don't get involved with. That's Eminem in a rap battle and with Barack Obama in a debate. Like, you're not gonna win those two things. Like, leave those men alone. Like, let him be. Let him go and
yeah.
Maybe he's a grandparent at this point.
So that's why
some wonky looking punk rocker. Like, what is he gonna do to your regular ass? Like, shit. Like, don't mess with Eminem. Like, that's
He made MGK change his career path. Like,
he made MGK. Like, I was about to say, like, he made MGK change everything about him. Shit. Like, I'm not even sure what he is anymore.
He turned MGK emo.
Hot take. I like Rap Devil. I like Rap Devil a little bit better. Hot take.
No, I don't. Yeah, that's a really hot take.
It was really good though. I did like it.
He's cooked.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, after the what was that kill shot came out. I mean, it ended it. You know, I was like, oh, that was a good little dig, and then you realize, oh, Eminem's still alive, and so you're not gonna live with that one. But yeah, no, I mean, looking at these two. Go ahead, EJ.
Go ahead. I was gonna say it's not a wise idea to mess with Marshall. That man's an animal.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's ended more careers than Biden. So I mean, he's done a good number. But
no, that joke really works, and more lives than Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, there you go. I like that one. But that's it for the two championship games. I think this championship Sunday, it's going to live up to the hype for sure. It's going to be a really fun one. But I guess before we get into the MVP, I'll go ahead and drop what that password is. So if you want to win in this giveaway, the only way for you to win in the giveaway, you're going to have to go to bellyupsports.com/afterdark to enter into the giveaway. And whenever you go there and enter all the information, you're going to have to put the password, and the password is Swift. So at this championship Sunday, you're going to have to use the password Swift. Like I said, Jared, I like the demise of everyone in the nation. So they're going to have to use the password Swift in this giveaway. So you'll also have a selection of what you want for that giveaway. It even has one selection that may favor some of the guys here at Belly Up a little bit too. So go check that out. That's bellyupsports.com/afterdark. You go there. That link should be down in the description now too. So you can go there and use that password Swift. That's the only way for you to win that giveaway. So if you enter everything in, but you don't enter in the password, you will not win. So go ahead and go check that out if you guys want to enter into the giveaway. But let's jump over to the MVP candidates. Is there anyone that sparks any kind of debate over Lamar?
No.
CJ Stroud, maybe?
I would love to say CJ Stroud, but it's not gonna be. He's gonna be Rookie of the Year. So
yeah, it's a discussion to be brought up because it's coming up, and you got to wonder who it might be. I personally want to say Christian McCaffrey, but with Lamar making it this far now, with as good as they've been, I really can't argue Christian McCaffrey. Earlier on in the season, I would have argued for Christian McCaffrey. I think it's ridiculous that we make this such a quarterback award, but it's tough because Lamar is the man, and he's definitely the reason why, the biggest reason why the Ravens have made it this far. But did you guys have any other names to kind of throw in there at all?
Well, I'm going to throw out Dak. He was the regular season king like the Cowboys have been for the past 15 years or so. But nah, go ahead.
Dak has had an amazing season, especially if you compare it to what Dak is used to. Dak had a great year, and I'm not going to take that away from him. But yeah, I think you were on the right track there by saying, but it's hard to compare against Lamar. I mean, Lamar has just done it all. I mean, it's just he's proving the haters wrong when the haters want to say he's just a running back. He throws the ball on a dime. He's got wide receivers now to help him out to prove that. So I mean, yeah, it's tough, but I definitely think Dak gets into this discussion at the very least.
Yeah, they try to say Lamar wasn't quarterbacky, quote unquote, whatever that means. But yeah, the crazy thing is his numbers aren't even as good as his first MVP season. But the proof is in the pudding with the team's record, and he's been Mr. Consistent this season. So I can't see the award going to anybody else. I think he's going to win comfortably with the amount of votes that he gets.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like you were talking about earlier, people before the season, people were talking about he's asking for too much money and he's hold out. He's representing himself, and what is he complaining about? I mean, he bet on himself. He got paid, and he backed it up with his play this season. About to get another MVP and most likely carry his team to the Super Bowl. So he shut the haters up.
Ryan McCarthy says, "You guys, Lamar isn't a quarterback. He's an athlete. # not quarterbacky."
Hey man, that running back can throw.
He is an athlete. I will give you that.
Shout out to the NFL scout who made that dumb mistake of fucking getting
he's an athlete with an arm. I got to say that much. And you know what? He actually reminds me. I'm trying to think who is it that I'm thinking of.
Man, I just know me and Jared do not like the city of Dallas.
I mean, he's a quarterback. Oh, Michael Penix. That's who I'm thinking of. He's a quarterback. Lamar this year reminds me a bit of Michael Penix, where Michael Penix could run. Don't let him fool you just because he didn't have any rushing stats. Michael Penix could run. He's not as much of an athlete as Lamar. I'm not trying to make the comparison there. But the fact that he can run and he chooses not to because he's smart and he knows that he's got weapons downfield. Lamar is that way this year. He can run. Don't let him fool you by the fact that he doesn't have these ungodly stats to throw up there at you. He can run,
the story of the year,
but he's choosing not to because he knows he's got weapons now.
The story of Lamar Jackson this season was that he was mentioning how he wanted to focus more towards the passing part of his game. He said he wanted to be more in the pocket. And I mean, with his mobility, that pocket presence and mobility, that is just a recipe for that dude in the pocket. Like, I mean, athleticism, and I mean, it's one of the dumbest ways. It's like the most weird, like, backhanded compliment to give somebody, because, like, to say you're athletic is also kind of, it's like it's a nice thing to hear, but obviously in the terms that these journalists use it is like he's an athlete just because they don't want to call him a quarterback. But I mean, Lamar Jackson has proven from his time in college to now even in the NFL, the guy belongs as an NFL quarterback, and he's proved it time and time. I mean, he won the MVP before, and he's probably going to win the MVP again, and it is as a quarterback. And I mean, when you guys think of legendary quarterbacks that were mobile, and I know I'm going to get some flack for it, probably not from everybody, but you think of Mike Vick. Mike Vick was really good. Mobile,
kind of the OG at it, really.
Was very mobile, had an arm. And I mean, I think Lamar Jackson has a better arm than Mike Vick does. But at the same time, that was what all these kids were learning how to play, was the style of Mike Vick. And that's where the game is now, where it's not just one dude like Mike Vick. Now it's multiple guys that are mobile. I mean, if you're a quarterback now, you have to be at least some level of mobile. I mean, you can – C.J. Stroud, pocket passer. I mean, everyone knows about his pocket presence. but when he needs to, he's going to run. He does need to learn how to slide, though. That's the only thing I got to say about his game. He needs to slide.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to take after. That's one thing I can compliment Kyler Murray on. He knows how to slide really well. He's a baseball guy, so obvious.
Yeah,
but
baseball.
He's good at knowing when to get down and slide. Did you have something you were trying to throw out there, Jared?
I've been banging the drum for Lamar since week 8, man. So it's kind of weird for me to root for anybody else. I will say, if there's any going to be a non-quarterback to win this year, it would be McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I've never seen a running back since Adrian Peterson dominate and basically pull his team to a winning record. Because let's be honest, the 49ers without McCaffrey are a 11-win team at best, and we are possibly looking at a dogfight in Week 18 between them and the Seahawks. But what McCaffrey's a 3-win plus player. If we're talking like baseball stats, his WAR is at least 3 wins. Like, this kid is worth the 3+ wins that got them the number 1 seed. So yeah, McCaffrey. If I was gonna not say Lamar, be McCaffrey. I don't want this Josh Allen agenda. He's not that good of a quarterback. In this case, he's a top 5 talent.
Yeah,
I think the problem was
if we're gonna go non-quarterback, as far as like talking about potential MVPs, Tyreek Hill was phenomenal this year.
Well, who bailed?
CD.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about non. I mean, but if we're gonna talk about Dak, if we're gonna talk about Dak, who bailed Dak out most of the time?
They throw fucking AJ Brown in that shit. Like, if we're gonna really throw CD,
but AJ Brown didn't do shit. He didn't do anything.
6 straight games of 125+ yards and a touchdown.
You had 6 good games in you. You didn't finish out the season strong, man.
If I'm thinking about the Dallas Cowboys, I'm also thinking of Micah Parsons.
Like, we're really gonna
Parsons would definitely be a defensive candidate up there. Yeah, I mean he just had certain games where he just couldn't get back there too, though. I'm thinking of the Lions game. I think that was really hard for him to get through. Then I'm trying to think of what other game it was that I remember watching him. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just feel like there is really no debate. There's a lot of debate that could be had for non-quarterback or second place.
Right now.
I can stop AJ Brown with a Chipotle burrito, Kelce says. But yeah, I mean it's pretty much Lamar's for the taking. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. We can argue about who might be second or third all day. I do think if you're going to go non-quarterback, I think Christian McCaffrey deserves it more than anyone. He's been an animal all season long. But we're going to go ahead and jump over to the UFC. We're going to recap some of the things that went on there and UFC 297, kind of give our reactions and everything. But before we do, a quick word from our friends over at Righteous Felon.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
A huge thanks to our friends over at Righteous Felon and our friends Ryan McCarthy and Brent from 1420 Sports for putting that little ad together for us. But you can go over to righteousfelon.com and get some of that delicious jerky and use code BELLYUP for 15% off. It's an amazing way to get your protein. Go check it out, righteousfelon.com, and again, use that promo code BELLYUP for 15% off. But guys, let's get into it. EJ, this is the main reason why we had you on tonight, man. We needed somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to UFC. I was watching the entire fight card with I guess some of my family, and then we were down there in my dad's new man cave. He got everything done up down there watching this one. I was really excited. This is one of the biggest fight cards I've been super excited for in a long time. I would say even dating back to Cowboy McGregor, going that far back is how excited I was, because that one was I was still more excited for Cowboy McGregor, but this was a big one because man, this is this is exciting when you think of the journey for both of these guys to go there. Plessis was supposed to go against Israel Adesanya for the middleweight title. He ends up having a foot injury, which I think he was smart sitting out. As tough as it is to admit that, it was probably a smart thing for him to sit that out with that injury. He doesn't go and fight Israel Adesanya, and Strickland steps in instead, goes to Australia, fights Israel, and ends up taking Izzy down and really just owned that fight. He pushed Izzy up against the fence nonstop. Izzy couldn't do anything. His feints weren't working. Sean's defense was too good, and he ends up winning the title. Now Plessis gets his chance, not against Izzy, but against Sean. So this was a huge storyline going into it. But I want to start off with the early prelims, because the early prelims, I was looking at a few of these fights. I thought a few of them looked, they looked like some good fights. First with Jasmine and Priscilla, those two going against each other. That was one that I was really excited about. I like Jasmine Jasudavicius quite a bit, so I was pretty excited about that fight. But all of these early prelims ended in a submission. That was something that was crazy to me, and what a way for the early prelims to start the night out. But what fight stood out the most to you? If you were to back up to the early prelims, what fight stood out to you the most, EJ?
Well, it's a lot to digest with this one, because like you said earlier, you said you were excited for this one. I was not excited for this fight card in general. On paper, if you were to ask me a year ago about this card and I were to read the people that were on this card, I would have thought it was a fight night card, because like you said, Sean Strickland kind of shocked the world when he beat Israel Adesanya. Was it September or so? And we'll talk about a little bit later. I think that was an anomaly of a fight, because I've never seen him fight like that to that point, and he didn't fight like that this past weekend. But like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later. But as far as the overall card, this was pretty much a stinker. But like you said, the early prelims, there was a lot of action in the early prelims. So I went back and watched them, because I didn't watch them live. I watched them on Sunday or Monday. And like you said, Yasmin Jasudavicius, that's a tongue twister with her last name, Jasudavicius.
Yeah, Jasudavicius, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people pronounce it so many different ways. That was pure dominance by her, though. She owned Cachoeira in the grappling department, beat her up, bloodied her up, and Cachoeira really didn't have any answer. And she was able to get that. I think she got her in a Darce choke, actually, in that third round. I'll give Cachoeira this, though. She was dog shit tired in that third round, but she showed heart. She was going back and forth with her on the feet at the beginning of the third round. And she went for some stupid, like when she was fending off the takedowns, but when Jasudavicius had her, I think they were in a clinch, and somehow she was landed on her knees. She went for some errant punch, and then that's when it was over. Jasudavicius got the takedown and was able to get the Darce choke. But that was an exciting fight. And Sam Patterson made quick work of Johan Lennis. He was able to get that front face lock and get him down and get that rear naked choke. So that was a quick fight. And the Jimmy Flick fight with Malcolm Gordon, that was some good back and forth. They showed some grappling prowess, them going back and forth. And then Flick was able to weather the storm, get that single leg takedown in the arm triangle. So like you said earlier, the early prelims were probably the most exciting part of the fight.
Yeah, it seems like it slowed down quite a bit once it got to like those prelims and then into the main card. It just was a lot of decisions, and I don't know about you guys. I don't know how much you guys were able to catch of every fight, but it felt like the overall judging was very off to me. I didn't agree with quite a few of the fights. I'm trying to think of which ones I know. The Tavares City, I think that was one of them that was really hard to look at and to understand where they thought, that was one that I felt was a really close fight. And I think, Tavares, I think he had certain moments in that fight, but that one to me just didn't feel like he really deserved to win that fight. And of course, that was one for, it was supposed to be a revenge fight, and it was really just a snooze fest. So I mean, overall, I guess the reason why I was so excited for it was mainly because that Strickland to Plessis, because it's two guys that you don't really imagine these two guys, like you said, backing up a year ago, these aren't two guys that you would think would be going for a title fight. And then there's quite a few other guys too, like I think this one being a rematch, the City against Tavares, and then Charles Jourdain against Sean Woodson. Did you guys catch the ending of this one? So this is the one where, so really I felt like Charles Jourdain won that fight. By the way, I think Canadians only won one of 7, 1 of 8.
Yeah, they did not have luck that night.
You're showing up in your home country and you didn't have such a great night, and so Sean Woodson ends up winning. Bruce Buffer calls Sean Woodson as the winner. He walks away all disappointed and starts going over to his corner, and Daniel Cormier has to stop him. And no. Sean Woodson won the fight. Get over here. You're supposed to interview. And they had to look back at Bruce Buffer like, did you read that off wrong? And so it's just a terrible sight to see whenever you see two fighters. But I mean, Jared, Hector, did you guys have any of these fights that kind of stood out to you guys?
See, I was only fortunate enough to watch the main event, but I had a buddy, my co-host, obviously being a UFC fan. Mm-hmm. He made his comments about the Jourdain fight, well known. He sent me a meme about the Bruce Buffer interaction, about how I don't know, everything about, like he said, this is Matt's exact wording here. He said to me in the pre-show meeting on Monday, he goes, everything with the refereeing felt off. Everything felt a little like misplaced, and everything felt a little like just either it was just like the judging, everything just felt a little weird and off points, point allocation, everything felt like it was misplaced. And that was the vibe. And he wasn't the first person I had to ask you. Well, my cousin's a big UFC guy. I asked him, I'm like, hey, listen, my co-host just said this to me. What do you think? And he goes, Jared, this is the weirdest fucking main card I ever watched in my life. I was like, well, fair enough. Shit. I ain't going to argue with it. I was watching playoff football, so I wasn't paying attention. But, like,
see, Brad Katona was the other one to me that I felt like that one, I didn't agree with the decision. And I think a lot of it just felt like the judges were looking at like total strikes or something on the card, and then they would just make their decision based on that. I didn't understand that one. I thought Brad Katona won against Armfield, so that was one of them. So there's another Canadian that loses that I didn't feel like it was a loss to him. It felt like he owned the match. Yeah, he didn't get maybe as many strikes in, but he got the powerful, the more precise strikes in. So that one definitely felt that way. And so yeah, there was that one, and then of course, if we jump to the main card, I felt like that one was called wrong too. That one just didn't feel right. I didn't really like the decision there.
I think that's like the flaw when it comes down to decision, and it's especially in these combat sports, man. Like it's like hats off to both these fighters to go the distance, because let's be honest, like if anyone, especially when you start getting into like title bouts, which is like five round matches, but like those 5 minutes feel like an eternity.
Yeah. And
so for them to like go into this bout and go the distance, and it's like it's just it kind of thing in general, whenever it has to go to an opinion base, and that's really what decision is the judge's opinion on who they felt had the better fight. It's like, what do you judge off of it? Do you judge off it the takedowns? Do you judge off of punches landed? Do you of the significance of those punches that did land, or those kicks that landed? And so it's one of those, like, to me, I love it when a fight goes the distance, but it is this unfortunate thing when it comes to the decision, because you have that where you're doing your own kind of like judging as you go, obviously, if you will, where you're like, I think this fighter had the better fight, and then when you see it's the calls differ to your opinion, that's when it becomes tough. And that's when you're like, when it comes to like UFC or just combat sports in general, something as simple as just an easy KO makes it all simple, because
it's like we need to come up with a point system of some sort where the decision isn't as vague, and I'm right there with you. I don't know. I don't really know what it would be. I think it's kind of up, like the main event. Dana White even said that he scored Strickland What was it? I think he scored him 3-2, I think. And so, I don't know. It's just looking at that fight. It's just, I guess we'll talk about that one in a minute. But another Canadian that got really unlucky because Neil Magny came in there and ended up, cleaning his clock. Neil Magny against Mike Malott. I picked Mike Malott to win this fight. I figured he was going to win it. And he was owning the fight the whole time. Neil just couldn't get anything done. Mike kept on taking him down. He almost got him in a few holds, and Magny was just really good at spinning out of all the different, triangle hold, and I'm trying to think of what else he might have tried to throw in there. He might have had a rear naked in there somewhere too. He had a bunch of different holds. He was trying to get him in and submit him. He couldn't get him, and then right there at the end, I think with 40 some seconds left, just under a minute, and all of a sudden he slips out of that. And the round's almost over. The last round, you're almost done with the fight, and he ends up, just slipping out, getting on top, and just beating the lights out of him. And you could tell Mike Malott didn't know where he was at, knocked him out. That was definitely that might have been the most exciting fight, just knowing how fast it turned around. So that one I thought that was a pretty good fight.
When you have fights like that, I'm assuming especially if you're the guy that's in this guy's corner, you're like, look, man, this fight is not going in your favor. Like, you're not gonna, if this goes to decision, you're not winning this fight.
Well, yeah, and it was pretty much all three rounds were all Mike Malott too. I mean, it was like, you have no choice, Neil. Like, you have to go out there and fight your best fight you possibly have right now.
Like, either he taps out or you knock him out. You got to do one of those two. You cannot let this fight end.
And it came down literally to the last minute. I think he slipped out somewhere like just under a minute and ended up beating him, and with like 38 seconds left on the clock or something like that. So, I mean, just a crazy turn of events. I mean, that's why you never give up on a guy like Neil Magny too. I think Dana even said something like that about in the press conference about you don't give up on Neil Magny. He's known for surprising everybody and beating people he shouldn't beat and beating them in ways he shouldn't beat them.
Yeah, I picked Mike Malott to win the fight.
Yeah,
and he was winning the fight until
he owned it. There was no doubt he was winning it.
Like the last 2.5 minutes or so, and Neil Magny was able. I think they were on the ground, and he reversed the mount.
He did,
and then he started getting the ground and pound, if I remember correctly. But Neil Magny, he's a gamer. Yeah. He's a perennial gatekeeper of that division. He's not going to get a title shot anytime soon. But if there's an up and coming fighter, and they need to throw a fighter at him, Neil Magny's always on speed dial. So. It was impressive. I didn't expect him to come back like that, but you never could count a guy like Neil Magny out because he's durable. He's not a one-punch knockout guy. He's a volume guy, and he got him out of there. It was a ground and pound. And I think Malott got tired. Is more so why they caused it.
Well, I mean, you were owning the fight, man. I mean, you had enough to be able to submit him several times, and you just kept on wasting all of your energy on that, but. Yeah, Neil's a dog.
If you want this from a casual's perspective, I turned on the fight about when Magny turned the fight around. Because when I turned the fight on, Magny's whooping his ass. And I'm just like, oh, like, how is this in round 3? This is ugly. And they call it. I'm like, and then I look at the score. I'm like, and I went back, and obviously, EJ and you, Josh, were talking about it. And I'm like, oh. I'm like looking back, and I was like, okay, now the scorecard, now everything makes a little more sense now. Because I joined the fight, I find the link for it, and I'm like, why is everyone getting so upset about this Magny fight? Like, he whooped his ass, and then I look, I'm like, I equated to, I don't know if you guys remember the UFC fight between Bones and Cormier. I think it was 2017, where Cormier had him the entire fight. And then it was like a great white pouncing on a freaking leopard, like a leopard seal. It was over. Just he caught a gap, and it was over. That's what it kind of felt like to me, because I went back and watched the additional video because it didn't make sense to me why everyone was getting so upset about this fight. And then I realized, I'm like, Magny
Magny was getting whooped. He was getting whooped, and they're like, this is one of them that was going to come down to a decision. If it would have gone towards Neil Magny in that decision, the entire arena would have been on fire because there was no way you choose Magny over Malott. Malott was whooping him, and it was really one of those fights. Again, like I said, I think Malott had so many chances, and he thought he had him, and Neil would just slip out and reverse something, random. And so it was just was definitely a crazy fight. Probably the biggest, kind of like the biggest roar in the stadium is for that fight, because that one was a lot of fun.
15 seconds ago, that's gotta kill him a lot. Like that's gotta kill him.
Yeah,
won.
I mean, and we were even yelling too, like, man, just kick him off of you, do whatever you got to do, man. Like, just swing back, guard yourself. I don't know what you're doing, man. You're getting beat, and then it was over.
I believe the Malott fight was around when I believe the Niners-Packers game, either when the Niners had clinched it or Love had thrown the pick or something. It was around the same timestamp, but I was I kind of had both screens going, so I was kind of like, oh, the UFC fight, everyone's talking about this shit. It's blowing up on Twitter. Let me check it out. So I had it on my secondary screen, and it was. And then I went back and watched them. This is the funniest thing. Like, I watched the Malott fight a lot, and then like the fight afterward with God, I cannot pronounce her name to save my life. Pennington. Jeez,
Raquel Pennington.
Then, I didn't watch it. I watched maybe 30 seconds of that fight, and I was just like kind of in and out because I was all about watching Strickland and Plessis. But like, dude, like I think the Magny fight was probably my favorite still because I only watched 10 seconds of it, and I thought it was Magny whooping his ass.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fight for sure. I mean, jumping over to that Raquel Pennington fight, this is one. I put my money on Raquel because I wanted her to win, but I didn't feel confident on it. The title was up for grabs for either one of them to win it. And Raquel ends up coming out. Man, she owned that match so well. And Dana said something afterwards. She recognizes it. She doesn't listen to her corner. And that's why she keeps on going in for all these grapples. And so it was just a dumb mistake for her. That was when she got herself into trouble. But she would still find a way to separate and cause more damage. And I don't think you can argue towards Myra Bueno Silva. I think Raquel owned that fight pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, and it wasn't the most exciting fight either. I picked Bueno Silva to win the fight, and I was wrong. She came out fired up, going back and forth with Bruce Buffer. I'm like, all right, she's gonna go in there and get the job done. But she came out. She was all in her face in the beginning of the round. She had some good.
That's why I wasn't confident, because she was kind of fired up all week long too, and like you could tell, like she just got this like anger in her eyes. That belt was kind of stripped from her. She doesn't feel right about it, so she's gonna come in there and take it. Yeah, I mean, but the total strikes, it was 265 to 96 for Raquel. I mean, that's insane. What was the other fight that ended like that? It was, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was another girl fight where. Just the chick that won it was like 300 to like 12.
On this was on the same card.
Yeah, it was on this card. It might have been early prelims.
It might have been just the Vicious fight.
That may have been. Yeah. That's what it was. It was 326 to 26. She had 300 more strikes. I mean, that's crazy. That you didn't even deserve to be in that octagon.
Yeah. You're happy to see Pennington get the belt because she's been in the UFC for a while.
Yeah.
She's always been kind of like the bridesmaid. She fell up short against Amanda Nunes when they had that title fight, and she's finally able to come on top. But I think she may be a transitional champion. I think Juliana Pena beats her. There's been some whispers that Nunes may come back. So, but you can still put that on your resume that you're a champion. But I just don't see her as a long-time champion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's. She's a good fighter too, and she knows how to win in several different ways. That's why I just had a weird feeling like Raquel would pull off the upset, but I wasn't confident on it. But going to the main event, I mean, this is the one. So the reason why I was so excited, because like I said, there was such a buildup when you think of everything. Plessis, I didn't see it in Plessis. I didn't think Dricus had a chance to go and fight against Izzy. I didn't like the fact that Dana was giving him a chance to go there. That didn't seem right to me. He's not a title fighter. He's got power in his hits, but he runs out of gas so quickly. And he wants to say that he proved all the haters wrong. No, you just proved that you can fight with no gas in the tank. That's all I saw. So it wasn't that you didn't get gassed. It's that you got gassed and kept on fighting. So that was one thing. I mean, when I look at this fight overall, again, this is one that I just don't understand. And DJ even said something about this fight. He says, I won't say Strickland got robbed, but it's tough scoring that one for DDP. If they're both healthy enough, that rematch as the main event for the loaded UFC 300 would be the icing on the cake. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a pretty cool matchup. I just think that's too soon to throw them back in there. What is that, in March?
What was it?
Yeah,
3? They were talking about like maybe 301 might be a good one for a 302.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Yeah, I mean, March is like a little too soon.
it's way too early. They both got the shit kicked out of each other. But like my favorite thing about the Strickland DDP fight was like I sat there watching the fight. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck's gonna win this.
Yeah, it was that way the whole time.
Sat there as a person who has a problem with gambling on sports, but I'm so cheap, I'll never actually lose real money. I just lose like 50 cents, $1, whatever. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to bet on something, but I'm like, I don't know who to put money on. This is the first time I watched a UFC fight where I just abstained. I was just like, I didn't know how to fucking pick this. So when they called it for DDP, I was like, ain't that something? I wasn't even mad about the decision. I was just like,
yeah, I was
okay.
happy for him, but I was just so confused, and really all of us down at my dad's house, we were just so confused.
Everything felt off.
Well, and if you look at the overall damage, I mean, if they wanted to take a look at that, I think you could say, oh, but Sean was bleeding. He was bleeding off of like 2 different cuts, and one was pretty deep. That was about it. I mean, he wasn't really that damaged. Sean still had plenty gas in the tank. Sean was still defending himself really well there at the end. I mean, it came down to, I mean, Duplessis had some hard hits, but Sean was just so strategic with all of his hits. A significant strike count was 173 to 137 in favor of Sean. Total strikes was 183 to 140 in favor of Sean. I mean, the takedowns, I get it. Duplessis was able to take him down, I think, 6 times. And so he took him down quite a bit throughout the match. But none of those takedowns did anything to Sean. They didn't cause any damage. They didn't really prove anything other than the fact that good job you got him on the ground, because then he turned it around and got right back up. So I didn't understand the scoring on this one.
I think this is the flaw when it comes down to decisions, because I mean, and this is me obviously. Just if I was judging this fight, I mean, yes, you give DDP his flowers for the takedowns, even the lack of significance that there was from those takedowns, but there was still takedowns. But when you look at it though, Strickland still wins 2 out of the 3. Because I mean, when you look at the percentage of the total strikes, he has 43 to DDP's 39. He has significant strikes. I mean, I don't know where that comes from, but still 42% to DDP's 38. The only thing that, as far as the scorecard goes, takedowns, I would give it to DDP. But when it comes to everything else, I would probably end up giving it to Strickland. But I think that's kind of the flaw when it comes to an opinion base. Like, we don't know what everybody's judging off of it. Maybe there is a certain standard that each judge is given, but I mean, at the end of it all, it's an opinion when it comes to the end of the fight. I think both fighters gave a great fight. I think, but I do think Sean Strickland was kind of given. If it wasn't for the takedowns, I think Sean Strickland wins this fight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But I mean, here's where I stand on it. I think this is the biggest reason why you can't take the belt away from Sean. I think that the easiest one in very recent history was Leon Edwards against Colby Covington. Leon Edwards didn't really do anything to win that fight. Colby,
talking about the second fight, right?
Yeah, the second fight, this most recent one. So I mean, Colby just didn't do anything to go in there and take the belt. I think the same thing with Strickland. Yeah, Strickland landed a couple of good hits, but he didn't do anything to really take that belt from Strickland to say, I am the better fighter. If you want to say that it was so close, it's really hard to decide either way. If it's any other match, you decide it however you feel is best. But with a title fight, you don't take the belt away from the champion unless it's a clear decision. And it obviously wasn't a clear decision, because it was two in favor of Duplessis and 1 in favor, and it was by 1 point. So I mean, it wasn't a clear decision. Therefore, you can't turn it over and give the belt away. That's my biggest argument towards it, because I think you can make a case for either one of these fighters. You just can't take the belt away when you didn't do anything to actually take it. And if you look at the damage, go back and look at the press conference of Duplessis' face. That dude was beat up. he was smashed.
One thing, like Duplessis' face looked like he got hit in the head with a fucking sledgehammer. Second of all, Josh, maybe the best take I've heard about this whole weekend is that I didn't see anything in the fight where I'm like, oh God, Strickland deserves to lose his title belt. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, he lost, but it was by such a thin margin that I'm like, does he really deserve it, or like, does this need like some sort of like? Obviously, UFC fights are different than like football or college football, where everything's like very straight and narrow. You won, you lost, whatever. But the fact that it was scored so close and that it looks so close as a fight in general, the whole fight just fell off to me. I still don't really agree completely with Strickland losing his title belt, but at the same time, I mean, DDP also had an incredible fight, but also his face looked like a back end of a potato after being hit with a couple hammers. So
Yeah.
yeah, this whole situation, like I completely agree with you on this point. Like I don't think he deserved to lose title belt over this, but that's
Yeah, I mean, Dricus had the best fight I've definitely ever seen him. I think the Robert Whittaker was a good fight for him, but
he finished Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, he finished him. But even with that finish, it wasn't as so impressive because of how he finished him. You could tell like he knocks him down on the ground and then he's like gasping for air to jump on top of him, and he finished him. He did a great job. That was a great fight. This, I think, was the best fight of his career because I think Sean is far more talented, especially when you talk about Sean's defense and how much stamina Sean has being able to stand up against him. So I think this was Dricus's best fight, but it just didn't feel like the decision went the right way to me. But EJ, how did you feel like with the decision? Where do you think it should have swung?
I went back and watched this fight again. I had it DDP winning the first time I watched it, and my opinion didn't really change the second time I watched it. But like we were talking about earlier, there really isn't a uniformed judging system in UFC, and I think they should probably get that in the future. But what we've seen in the past year or so is that they've kind of strayed away from you get the takedown and you control them, then you win the round. They've been harping more on there being damage. Yeah. That's what they've been basing it off of. And when I went back and looked at the fight, sure, Strickland was outstriking him, but I feel like every time DDP would throw, he'd just be getting the more damaging shots that back Strickland up, and he bloodied him up. So I think that's where the judges saw it from their perspective, and he got the takedowns. But like what y'all said earlier, he didn't hold him down for long. Yeah. So I don't think those takedowns played that much into it. But I just think he was backing Sean Strickland up a little bit more when he went in and was striking. So
yeah. I mean,
it was a close fight, but
like you said, I do think Duplessis had the bigger hits. I think he had more power behind his hits. That's obviously why he gasses out so quick. I think by the end of the first round, he was breathing pretty heavy. By the end of the third round, man, that dude just didn't look like. I didn't think he was going to finish the fight after that. So I do give him props for that. And Dricus, I mean, he surprised me before this fight too. I even said to some of my family, like, and some of my friends I was talking about this fight with, I am a Dricus fan after seeing everything that he's gone through to get to this point. Duplessis is one heck of a fighter. But let's jump over because we brought up the UFC 300 and. We're looking forward to 300. I heard Dana say something along the lines that he should have somebody by this last Tuesday lined up for the main event. I just looked it up earlier. I had to double check before. He still doesn't have anybody lined up for the main event. I'm still in favor of McGregor and Michael Chandler. I don't know about the 185. That may not be a good fight. Bump them down to that 165. I think that's a good fit for McGregor. I think he looks healthy at 165. But
catch weight.
Who are you thinking? I mean, EJ, I'll start off with you, man. Who are you thinking for UFC 300 for that main event?
So, looking at this card on paper, it's a fight fans card so far. You got Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan for the strawweight belt, and you got Gaethje and Holloway for the BMF belt. Oliveira and Armin at lightweight at that, and you got Yuri and Ratchik. But there's not that fight that just pops out at you. And like you said, they're still looking for a main event fight. I don't know who you would get at this point because John Jones is out with the pec injury.
Well,
GSP.
and we even talked about DDP coming in and defending against somebody else, but I just feel like that's too soon because he was banged up.
I don't want to see an immediate rematch with Sean Strickland.
No,
as close as the fight was, I think Strickland he gets a win over who could he face? He could face a Whitaker and maybe bounce back and then get a title fight. But I'd like to see him get one more fight. Israel Adesanya, he said he's not coming back until 2017. Which
yeah, and I don't think he'll be ready. And I don't really like Izzy going in there for that title again. I just think it's too soon. But
yeah, that's a quick turnaround for DDP.
That's why I think what bigger name in UFC than Conor McGregor himself, the notorious one. I mean, I'm a huge Conor fan. I've always been a Conor fan.
The last fight he's got in the ring.
What's that?
Yeah, he has lost his last, maybe even 3. I have to go back and look at it. He hasn't won in a while. He beat Cowboy. He beat Cowboy in between.
Yeah, he beat Cowboy, and then he lost to Poirier twice. Yeah,
and he also lost to Floyd, so you want to count 3.
Yeah, but that's
that too.
Yeah, but that's in a different sport, and he didn't really lose. But
the Khabib fight was just a different animal itself. But
yeah, but yeah, because they were talking about Conor coming back at International Fight Week. So, do you want to rush him and get him back in the 300 just so you could have that marquee name, the main event? I don't know. They may want to go in that direction, but I think outside of.
I think he pulls in money, man.
He does. Even though he hasn't looked good in the cage, he still has that name. He's the biggest name in MMA history. Sorry, John Jones. Sorry, GSP.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, he revolutionized UFC. Without Conor McGregor, I think a lot of us never. I mean, I probably never got into UFC if it wasn't for Conor McGregor. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Okay, well, careful, because I am the old man of this group. So
for me,
I grew up on GSP. I was on GSP.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think GSP is a legend, but I think Conor revolutionized it in a different way. I think with as much as he brought to the game, it's definitely a different league now than it was before Conor.
For me,
you never saw a BJ Penn fight because that.
That's my era.
And you know why I didn't see him fight, because it wasn't as big back then before McGregor.
I mean, my first fight
blood off his glove.
I think my first fight was GSP versus McGregor. Was Jones versus GSP. I'm a big Bones guy, so that was like I like
John.
I'm a big John Bones boy, so to me that was like.
Who are you thinking though, EJ?
Well, yeah. So if you can't get McGregor to move that date up, I think I don't know how bad McGregor wants to fight, because. I mean, would you want to fight if you have $100 million in the bank and sleeping on silk sheets? So I don't know how bad he wants to rush back in, because they can't.
Because I think he thinks he can clean anybody's clock. I don't think he's scared of anybody. I think he's stupid enough where he's not scared of anybody.
Yeah, I don't think he's scared, but for some reason they just can't get the business down. Yeah. So I mean, if you can't get him, you want to try to get something to pop this card. So you probably got to think outside the box. So maybe you throw $20-30 million at GSP, say, come out of retirement. Let's get that super fight with you and Khabib. That would get people to watch.
That definitely would.
And if you don't get that, I've been watching UFC for a long time now. So this name may or may not ring a bell for some of the people that just started watching in the past 5 years or so. Maybe you break out the checkbook and try to get Brock Lesnar to come back for one more fight.
You know that would bring money. I think just about anybody.
I mean, the fact we're talking about 300, we're not talking, and then Brock Lesnar was there for UFC 100 as well,
and 200,
and 200. So I mean, the dude was a staple for UFC for quite some time, bro.
That would be a crazy fight.
That gives me high school vibes, which is making me feel old as I say that.
Yeah, me too. So,
Don't let that make
Brock
you feel
Lesnar, get him against another heavyweight legend, Fedor Emelianenko, or maybe even Stipe. Maybe get Stipe and Brock.
I like bringing Stipe back in. I liked him a lot. I was a big Stipe fan.
And that'll put butts in seats. But if you don't get a big name, I don't know how much you're gonna sell with pay-per-views. And this is a marquee event, 300. You got to get a big name to headline it. So, but I don't know what they're gonna do.
You want to see Frank Mir again?
That's a throwback name, Frank Mir. He beat Brock Lesnar with that ankle lock. So yeah, that's a throwback for sure.
Jared, Hector, you guys got any other names you would throw in there for 300? Because I mean, obviously Dana's struggling for some reason. I think he's got quite a few good names in this. I think it's going to be a really fun card when you think of it. Holly Holm, and then you've got another one that I was thinking of was Aljamain Sterling. I think that's another big name to throw in there.
Yep.
So then you've got him. Oliveira, Charles Oliveira was another big one. I think that's going to be a really fun one. Holloway and Gaethje is going to be a really fun fight to watch. So I mean, just
Hollow is what you throw in there, but I mean, to me, I'm on this McGregor train now. Y'all got me really interested.
I've been sold since McGregor broke that news on Instagram or whatever it was on social media. I've been sold on it. I want to see McGregor back. I will always be a McGregor fan.
Look, it's gonna be dumb not to bring in McGregor for UFC 300.
Yeah, I mean he's like I said, man. I really believe that he is a big part of the growth, as big as it grew, as fast as it grew. I think UFC was going to grow and be what it is today, regardless. I just don't think it does it this fast without McGregor, because he came on the scene hot and he grabbed a lot of attention.
I think the biggest thing is that with McGregor was the one who catalysted all the growth. I think it sucks because for 300 you don't have one of the greatest pound for pound fighters of all time in Bones, but I think with the McGregor, what makes sense is you have the greatest entertainer of all time in UFC, and I think that if they can get him ready for this shit, whew, damn it's the fact that he's a brand, and you talk about most sports where players have a brand that's associated with them. You go obviously basketball, you have LeBron, you have Jordan, Kobe, whatever. Baseball, not as much, but in the NFL, you have your Mahomeses, you have your Mike Vicks, you have your guys who are synonymous with a certain brand, a certain type of who they are as a player. In the UFC, there's nobody who's more evident of that than Conor McGregor. So for the 300th UFC event, who better to pull? So to me, I think it's a no-brainer in my mind. They have to.
Well, and Michael Chandler came out saying that he confirmed that that's what he was told that they were going to be fighting. They both brought up the 300, but I don't know if that was just to hey, we're going to put this pressure on Dana so we can get that spot. That's kind of what it feels like it is right now.
You have a lot of excitement, right? You have a lot of excitement right now with McGregor. One, it's UFC 300, but then I think what Conor McGregor did Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be dropping pretty soon. So, I mean, you got all this hype with this one person. Plus, you just say the name, Conor McGregor. You either hate the guy or you love the guy. There's no in between.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and he's one of those guys, too, that I can understand why you hate him. It's kind of like how I am with Baker. I totally get why you hate Baker. If you're a Baker hater, I get it. He's not a likable guy. Same thing with McGregor. McGregor is not a likable guy. But you got to respect the man for what he's able to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a chance to bring back McGregor, it's break glass in case of emergency. So it's got to be something behind the scenes that we're not seeing, because I've heard he's healed. So why wouldn't you want to bring him back? Maybe he's asking for too much money. That's the only thing I could think of.
And yeah, I think it might be a mix of that, and maybe he's not willing to agree to whatever weight class. Maybe Michael's not willing to agree to whatever weight class they're trying to go into or something, or maybe Dana's just not willing to let them go to that 185 weight, which if they're both going to 185, why not just let them go there?
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, and I'm sure you're able to answer this question a little bit better, but who is somebody that maybe is due for a title shot by UFC 300?
I would think the Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera would have been 300 if anything, but it's now going to be at 299. So I mean, if I was gonna pick a title fight right now if you take each weight class, who's got the biggest name? I would think Sugar Sean's got the biggest name right now. That's who I'm going with if I'm going to pick a current guy. That's why I feel like you go to the next biggest name. Who's going to draw in the most attention? I mean, I just don't see anybody else. I think Du Plessis against anyone would draw in a lot more attention. Maybe not a lot more than McGregor, but I think he would draw in a lot of attention if you were able to get him healthy enough. But like I said, I just don't think it's gonna work. I know Jeremy is down there in the chat. He says something about McGregor versus Diaz. I don't know if anyone's gonna go for that one. I don't know if Dana would go for that.
They have to eventually run that one back. That's just
I like it. I love that fight. Yeah, I love that
fight. No disrespect to Chandler, but Diaz still has a bigger name than Chandler, so that would definitely pop a 300. Yeah. But I mean, he's not signed right now, but it's nothing to sign him back for at least one fight. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter who you go against, who you put against McGregor. McGregor's going to be the biggest name, but if you put Diaz against McGregor, that's a really big name. But
or Jorge Masvidal, try to get him.
That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. I would love to see that one.
I would love to see Jorge Masvidal again.
I would have a lot of fun with that one too. But guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. For everyone who watched on YouTube, again, make sure to go down to that link down in the description. That's bellyupsports.com/afterdark to sign up for our giveaway. You're going to have to go back in time to go see what that password was. So that's kind of our trick to make you watch a little bit and try to figure out what that password was. But we thank you all so much for watching, for tuning in. So make sure to go check everyone out on bellyupsports.com. That's where all of the Belly Up Sports media and on pretty much everything, all the articles and everything is. Jared, tell everybody where they can find your stuff real quick.
You can find me and the motley crew of the Corner Booth at All Things Corner Booth Pod on TikTok. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever. Instagram, you can find me at Belly Up Jared, Corner Booth Jared, depending on the site, because Elon likes to be a dick about changing names. Also, you can find me, Matt, and the boys every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. going live, just to give you your daily degenerate sports takes as only we can.
Heck yeah, go check him out, Corner Booth Pod. Hector, tell everybody where we can find your stuff.
Before I get to that part,
yeah.
Obviously the Belly Up family, we had a tragic loss in Cesar. Shout out to the Craft Brew Sports Podcast. And when I was going searching for my beverage for tonight, it was only fitting that I went after this drink. It was called Banger IPA. So shout out to Cesar. I know he's not a beer drinker, but obviously rest in peace to him. And once again, shout out to everybody from the Crafted Brew. Thoughts and prayers to his family as well. But Insert Name FC, man, you can catch us on every Friday. New episodes drop every single time. You can find us on all things social media, Insert Name FC on X and Instagram, and on the Threads. We're trying to be active on Threads again. Not sure if that's going to be a thing or not. And you can also find us on TikTok, insert.name.fc. Been pretty good on making some reels for you from our recording. So you're going to start seeing more activity as well there. But that's how you can find us. YouTube, anything other of podcasts, you can find Insert Name FC on. So you can get your digest of soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm glad you were able to bring that up too, because that's something that I wouldn't have known how to bring up. I didn't really know Caesar too much. I don't know the Craft Brew guys very closely, but absolutely thoughts and prayers out to them and the family and everything. But EJ, Haymaker, where do we find your stuff, man?
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me on. You can find us at Haymaker Combat Sports on all social media platforms. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. And we also post full episodes for the pre-shows for each UFC pay-per-view and the post-shows, but we also do boxing episodes and some episodes for some fight nights if they're a big fight night. And we also post the clips on the Belly Up YouTube page, so go check that out. And we also post exclusive quickie episodes on the Belly Up Sports YouTube page, so check those out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We were happy to have you on, man. It's fun. Anytime we talk sports, we're going to make sure to get you on. But I'm the host, Josh Mahler. I'm over with Rising to the Occasion here on Belly Up Sports, and over Rising to the Occasion YouTube page. You can find everything we do at rising2.com. That's risingto.com. But again, we thank everybody so much for watching and for tuning in with us. Make sure to go sign up for that giveaway. We thank you all so much, and have a good night.